Today we are going to start with the last chapter, that is the sixth lesson, which is closing the project and phase. This is a short one. We can do it much earlier. And it has got only 3 topics in it. That now number 1 is project and phase closure. Second topic is benefits realization. And the third topic is knowledge transfer. And it is mostly the repetition of what we already know, but we are focusing on the closure of the project or the phase. So the first topic is project and phase closure. Well, we have done everything about a project in a predictive or agile manner. Predictive project, we started with a initiation, then we planned everything, then we executed the project, and then monitored and controlled. And now once all that is done, it is now the time to close the project. So in predictive projects, stakeholders accept deliverables based on acceptance criteria, which we have already done at the end of monitoring and control, right? So the acceptance criteria has been achieved, and that was part of our validate scope process, right? So that has been established at the beginning of the project in the project management plan, and this criteria was may have been modified during the project life cycle, and it was all the requirements were traced through a traceability matrix to ensure completion and approval of all requirements. And at the end of monitoring and control, we had completed all the acceptance criteria, and thus our project is coming to a closure. As far as agile projects are concerned, as you remember my discussion, we said that because it is in iterations, so we don't need to have a change control system. And we have broken down our product into several user stories, which are very small portions of work which we need to do. And for each user story, we have established a acceptance criteria for that. User acceptance criteria was established. That means rather than getting the whole product accepted at the end of the project, we are going to be, achieving the acceptance criteria of each and every user story. In every iteration, there are a couple of user stories, maybe 10, 20, or 30. So the team will do that job and they will get the acceptance from the customer in their demonstration and review meeting. Okay, but as you remember, I said definition of done will only be achieved when you are about to hand over the thing to the customer. Right now, what we have done is we have shown our results of each user story, and based on that, we have received the user acceptance. But as yet, the physical transfer of the product to the customer did not occur. And that will be on the discretion of the customer when do they want all the items which have so far been accepted, when they want them delivered. Because before we can physically transport those items to the customer premises, we have to meet another requirement, and that is called definition of done. So every installment of the delivery will be followed by definition of done. Definition of done means that we already have the user acceptances for all the user stories. Now we need to ensure the compliance with all the compliance requirements, which could be quality related, safety related, environmental related, or security related, maybe legal. So we will ensure that all those requirements of compliance are completed, and therefore, once that is done, now we can safely hand over that installment of items to the customer. That would be called as a definition of done. that would mean that final acceptance will occur prior to the product release. When I'm releasing that chunk of materials to the customer, now that could usually be on the release points, right? But it is not necessary, because in Agile we can deliver anytime uh, uh, when the customer requires whatever has been accepted. So generally it is the release points, but that can be delivered at any point in time. I mean, after any iteration. Maybe there are 10 iterations in our release, and after 5 iterations, customer requires us to deliver him the goods. So we will complete the definition of done and hand it over to them. It can be done at the end of the release. It can be done at the end of the whole project in Agile. So acceptance criteria and definition of done express the same status of stakeholder satisfaction with the product. Teams may use the terms interchangeably, but as I defined, there is a little bit of difference between the two. They are not exactly one and the same thing. Why projects are phases close? Well, one normal condition is that we have done the job, and now naturally that project or that phase must be closed because we have delivered what was supposed to be delivered. We have achieved the target. We have generated the required business value and things like that. So that is the conventional closure of a project or a phase. But what do you think? Is there a possibility that a project or a phase can be declared closed prematurely? I mean, without fulfilling all the requirements, delivering all the goods. Is it possible a project can be closed down abnormally or prematurely, which we can call the forced closure? What do you think?
Yes, it's possible.
Yes, and one of the biggest reasons could be that the business case on which this project is based doesn't remain feasible anymore. That could be due to any number of reasons. But if the feasibility is no more valid, that is a fit case to close the project prematurely. Other reasons could be that the customer needs and requirements have changed. Previously, they had asked for something else, but now they need something else. Maybe it is due to the change in their approach or their strategy or our strategy, whatever. So requirements and needs, if they change, although we do try to catch up on the changing requirements, even in a predictive project through a change control mechanism. But I mean to say that requirements have changed so much that even the change control cannot handle them. So that would mean that the business case is no more valid and project must be prematurely closed down. Now, project deliverables is no longer feasible. That is the failure of the business case. It could be due to the internal reasons or the external reasons. Internal reasons could be organizations makes a change to the business case, and due to that, the business case is no more valid. Or a legal or regulatory change prohibits any further progress. Maybe the law of the land that has changed a law, and they have now mandated that these kind of projects cannot be done in this country. Or the project or the deliverable, customer doesn't want that anymore. So they request us that this project should be closed down prematurely. Or we may have certain impediments encountered. For example, the funding of that project has dried down. We have no more funds to run the project. So that could also be a reason to close a project. Or the risks may have significantly increased from the conception we had about the risks and uncertainty in the beginning of the project. And it is now uncontrolled, and we probably cannot keep dealing with risks, and we have to close down the project. So these are a number of reasons why projects or phases may be closed down prematurely or we can call it a forced closure. When a project closes, whether it is at the successful completion or due to any other reason, so maybe a forced closure, uh, how do we close a project? First of all, if at all the deliverables have been accepted, is a normal case, acceptance of deliverables or product by the customer is the very first requirement. If it is not premature. So acceptance of all the deliverables by the product by the customer, and then we should have transitioned the deliverable to the product or deliverable or product to the customer. Maybe hand over the product to the customer. Then notify the enterprise and the organizational function as if the organizational process assets can be updated. That is, all the documentation of the project, all the lessons we have learned, all the files which have been created during the project, they have to be handed over to the central archive, which is called organizational process assets, as if future projects can benefit from these lessons learned. Then we prepare a final report, and that final report will include a summary of how did this project go. It will start with the initial scope and everything. How did the project go? What were the problems we faced? And ultimately, that would give us certain short details about what happened in the project. As far as the schedule is concerned, and what were our concerns, what the lessons we have learned, and things like that. Conclude external obligations, if any, including legal, regulatory, or contractual, and transfer of liability, closure of accounts must all happen. Because after a project is closed down, no business of the project can continue happening. No accounts in the bank, no more financial management. Everything must be closed down when we decide to close the project, right? And then we archive all the project information which was, created during the project. That means the files and the documents, whatever the communication has gone on, all those documents are archived. And as a last step, we release all the resources. After the project is closed down, it could not have any resources, no human, physical, or financial resources, no assets at all. They may be handed over to some other entity when the project is closed. These activities are part of the closed project or phase process and are typically included in the project management plan. When we created the project management plan, this mechanism of closing the project or phase is provided there as a last step. And in the work breakdown structure under the project management function. So when we establish the scope, WBS was the thing which actually represented the whole scope of the project. And when the project is closing, we can ensure that all the items of the work breakdown structure have been accomplished, as if it can be closed down. As far as transitions or handover is concerned, again, that is different from one approach to the other. In predictive, we will transition the product of the project at the end of the project or at the end of our phase. That means there is only one acceptance criteria which we have already discussed. And once that has been achieved, we could hand over the objects to the customer. In Agile, we can deliver incrementally, meaning we could be delivering on at the end of the project or at the end of a release or even at the end of an iteration. So this all depends upon the needs and requirements of the customer. In Agile, we will have things in iterations, and we will keep handing them over when the customer needs them. But just remember that when we get the acceptance, that is on the basis of the user stories. And when we have to deliver, we have to achieve definition of done. That is, all the compliance requirements must be fulfilled before the items can be handed over to the customer. So that was the transition and handover. How can we prepare for transition and handover? So if you want to see how well are you prepared for handing over or transitioning the project to the customer, that would be you would require preparedness or readiness of all parties. So assess as if they are ready. I'll explain it to you why. End user. When I am trying to hand over the things to the end user, is the end user really ready for it? Do they know what they are getting and what should they expect? Similarly, at the end of the project, when the handover is happening, what are my business requirements? What is my organization? Organization needs a closure to the project. They need a business value to be generated. They need certain strategic objectives to be achieved. So business has their own needs related to the transition and handover. Project team, they want to hand over everything to the customer as if they can be relieved and the project can be declared closed. And the support staff also will no more be required after this point. So expectations should be set that this is going to happen when we hand over the project. The project is going to close. There are not going to be any liabilities and accounts and any assets left over. So no people can be left over, no team members can be left over. All will pack up and go. The project is closed, the team dispersed. What are the activities during this transition? Effective transitions are hard handovers of deliverables or product enable end user awareness. This is very important because when we are handing over, it is not something that we just uh, transfer it to the customer and we just go back home. We actually have to not only transition it, hand over it to the customer, but we have to make sure that they were ready to receive it, they are ready to use it, they know how to use it, and they can yield the benefits out of this product as expected from the project. Because the responsibility of realizing the benefits from this point on would be that of the customer or whomsoever is taking over. So one thing is benefit realization because we have maintained the benefit realization until the project ends. After that, how the benefits are going to be realized, we have to train the customer, we have to teach the customer, we have to make them comfortable. Only when we are comfortable, the customer is capable of handling the product of the project and they can start start realizing the benefits, they are confident with it, then we can leave them. So, training on the new product or service could be one activity. Documentation for the product and deliverable can be help as a user guide. Effective communication between the team and the organization. And last but not the least, even when the taking over is complete, we will still provide kind of a hypercare or maintenance services for some time to the customer as if we are sure that customer is now capable of of uh, doing things all by themselves. They are confident and trained enough. That is called post-implementation support, which can extend even beyond the closure of the project. Maybe a month or two later than the project, it can continue and it can assure that customer is able to yield those benefits, or we can say they can start yielding those benefits. So our question here is, where are the transition requirements recorded in a predictive project? When we were collecting the requirements for a predictive project, where do we record the transition requirements?
Tradition
Yes?
during the when we're training as well as during the build.
During what?
Where the
Yeah.
during the trainings, right?
Uh,
When we're going to
there,
deploy.
there were 10 knowledge areas: scope
Okay.
management, schedule management, cost management. Scope management was the area where we were collecting the requirements from the customer. There we had two management plans. One was called the requirement management plan, the other was called the scope management plan. So that was the place where we were collecting the requirements. Requirement management plan was the document which tells us uh, how to collect, what requirements to collect, and transition requirements are also defined in my statement of work.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. Paying and closing contracts. I suppose I have already talked about it, that we should not hold payments of a contractor as soon as their payment is due, they have fulfilled their contractual requirement, they should be paid, right? Until and
Yes.
unless it is mentioned in the contract that this payment is not to be made to the contractor until he fulfills certain other requirements, right? If that is not mentioned in the contract, then we have no reason to delay their payment. So as soon as uh, they have fulfilled the contractual requirements, we will notify the accounts department as if they can prepare for making the payments. Pay the suppliers or vendors in accordance with the contract terms. What you don't need to do is to delay the payment until project or phase is closed. Because all the payments are not tied to the closure. Some payments are like delivery of some items, right? So far, neither the phase has closed nor the project has closed. But we are supposed to make the payment there and then, according to the contract. So it is uh, not right to hold the payment until the end of a phase or a project, right? That is not our discretion at all. We'll follow the clauses of the contract. Finalizing contract, when we are closing down a contract, naturally the contract has been achieved and it has fulfilled its purposes and it is being closed down. So the same thing like we do at the end of a project, similarly at the end of a contract, we will uh, we will look at what was like a final report, what was the scope, what was the quality, what was the schedule, and what had been the cost performance, what were contract changes during the life of the contract, what is the payment record to the customer and the financial documents, inspection results, and then last but not least, the drawings or the documentation as they were required by the customer and as they were at the time of the delivery of the product to the customer, right? There is a difference. Sometimes, you are trying to construct a building, and when you construct a building, you create a map for the whole building, like a drawing for the whole building, which clarifies all the specifications. Now, when you start constructing this building, there are several changes which is happening, which was probably due to the reason that it was not possible to do everything as per the plan, and therefore we have to change certain uh, dimensions in the drawing. Therefore, if I complete the project and do not record those changes in a as built design or drawing, then nobody would know what are they, whatever they are getting, how how is it exactly according to the drawing or not? So the final version of a constructed building must again be designed, mapped out, and the original drawings should be provided to the customer, right? This is how we can finalize our contracts. Some questions here. Is the following statement true or false? The requirements traceability matrix is a grid that links product requirements from their origin to the deliverables that satisfy them.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
It is true. Good. In which of the following situations would you not perform the closed project or phase process?
Letter C, interim
C. When a
deliverables.
customer validates interim deliverables. D. When the project is complete. What are you saying?
Letter C, C, Charlie.
Charlie. When the customer validates interim deliverables. Okay, right. If a project was terminated early, why would the project manager insist that the team perform the closed project or phase process?
Letter A.
A is the correct answer. Document the reasons why the project was terminated early and determine how to transfer the finished and unfinished deliverables to others. The project manager wants to make sure all team members understand the importance of the whole closing process and ask if there are any more questions. One team member asked, what would happen if this process is not done? How should the project manager answer that question?
Closing process. Let one team member ask. Process. I'm conflicted between B or D, but I guess D because closing. Teams won't not be allowed to be assigned future projects. They will not be released. Letter D, Delta.
D is the correct answer.
Weird.
D is not. Next related activity phase or project is dependent. It will not be, you cannot begin that. If this phase is closed, the next phase can start, right? Or this
Okay.
project is closed, the next project can start. So that is a dependency. Which three of the following activities are part of closing a phase or project? There are three are correct, one is wrong.
A, B, C are correct.
Very right. Okay, moving on to the next topic, which is benefit realization. Uh, I suppose you remember what I said about benefit realization. Benefits are not to be,
Suhail, sorry.
yeah,
Mark is entering. He said,
Mark, okay. Let
yeah,
me,
let me check.
Mark, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep,
Yes.
definitely. Ma-
Sorry, I've been I've been waiting for some time
I'm
and
sorry,
I
I'm
wasn't
sorry,
able to message.
I'm
No
sorry.
worries. But
Anyways,
Suhail,
we
yeah,
just concluded the first topic. That was the generally how the things are closed. And the second and third topic we are going to cover now. we would be talking about benefit realization, and then we will talk about one more topic. So just
Okay.
a quick run through what we did in the previous topic. I'll just take you quickly through that. These were the three topics: project, phase, and closure, benefit realization, and knowledge transfer. So this topic is complete. We are on the benefit realization, and the next topic is knowledge transfer. So here we are talking about how do we close a predictive project, and how do we close a agile project. Here I have already talked about it, that we used to have user acceptance. We need to have user acceptance. In predictive project, there is only one user acceptance for the whole product, right? If we achieve that, the project is ready to hand over. In Agile, we do have user stories, which are too many. Like, in every iteration, we have got a number of user stories to be done. Each user story has its own acceptance criteria. Therefore, we will keep getting the user acceptance in each iteration, but it depends on the customer when they want those items be delivered. They can be delivered at the end of an iteration, or at the end of a release, or at the end of the whole project. It all depends upon, it is on the discretion of the customer when they ask us to deliver it to them physically. Before we deliver on the customer needs and requirements, we have to do some compliance requirements. The compliances must be completed. So before handing over or before shipping the material or the deliverable to the customer, we should complete those compliances like quality, environmental, and other many things. And that would be called a definition of done. So in Agile, we have got user acceptance and a definition of done, whereas the concept of definition of done is not there in predictive. Why do we close projects prematurely? These were some of the reasons. Well, all the projects do not get concluded in a smooth way. Sometimes they have to be closed down abnormally. Like business case has changed. Our business case is no more feasible. We have to close the project. Requirements have changed to such an extent that it is not feasible to continue the project. These things can arise internally or externally. Project deliverable is no longer desired by the customer. Or there are certain impediments like, you have no more, your source of funding has dried up, or the risks have significantly increased during the life of your project, and we think we can't handle them. So we can close the project down prematurely in any one of these situations. Then when we are closing a project, these are the things we must take care of. Acceptance of the deliverable, transition of the deliverable, notification to the organization as if we are done, and submitting our organizational process assets to the organization, preparing a final report, which will include the summary of what all has happened in the project. What was the scope? What did we do? How did we start? How did we end? What did we deliver? What were the reasons of delay, if any, and things like that. Then we conclude external obligations, like, if there were any legal requirement, regulatory requirement, contractual requirement, payments desired are required, liability transference, all that must be completed before we can close down the project. Archive the project information and then release the resource. Once we are done with this, we have to physically hand over the product to the customer. The requirements of transition would be included in our requirements we have gathered in the beginning. in our requirement management plan and scope management. That is part of your project management plan. In Agile, because we are doing things are changing continuously, therefore we are handing over to the customer whenever they require. So there is absolutely no problem because user acceptances are already with us. When we are trying to transition or handover, the parties involved must all be ready, like the end user, the business, our own business. They should be satisfied that project has achieved their results, they have delivered the benefits, or they have uh, caused the value to the business and things like that. Team members, project team must be prepared to hand over and then they will be dispersed. Support staff, naturally, if their services are required in handing things over and transition, that will be used and then they will also not be required by the project. What all we have to do during the transition and handover? Transition requirements can include, when you are handing over, the other party which is taking it over, they must be trained on the product. They must not be completely ignorant about it because they are going to be the users of that product. And if they don't know what it is and how does it work, so it is going to be useless for them. So we have to provide them training, documentation, and we have to communicate very effectively with them as if they should be completely comfortable with the product and they can take it over. But one thing is still important. Our responsibility doesn't end here. Although the project can be declared closed after these 3 points, but we will leave our maintenance team, our hypercare team, our post-implementation support for the customer as if we can keep looking at how they are handling the product and guiding them whenever and wherever required. When we are comfortable that they are making good use of the thing and they can continue on their own, then we will leave. So maybe this hypercare time is like a couple of weeks to a month or something like that. Then when we are closing the contracts, this slide just tells us that we should not hold back the payments of these suppliers. As soon as they are due, they must be paid. Finalizing the contract, when the contracts are being closed, like one of the subcontractors has done his job and his contract is being closed. We have to, just like we prepared a final report, the contract closure report can also be prepared, which should cover these topics. What was the schedule? What was the scope? What was the quality? What was the cost performance? Contract changes must all be recorded and documented. Payment records and financial documents should be there. Inspection results could be there. And the drawings as they were planned and as they were built, both drawings our documentation should be created. Then we had certain questions. Do you want to do these questions, Basa? Are you there, Marc?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to do these questions?
Wait, sorry, I cannot look at the screen right now.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
I'll skip that. I'll go to the next topic. Next topic is benefit realization, right? Now, listen to me very carefully, although I have defined it before as well. Every project we do, although as a project manager and the team members, we are supposed to deliver that deliverable, the product, service, or result to the customer. But that is not the purpose of the project. Actually, the purpose of the project is basically defined in the business case. And that is the long-term benefit which is going to be yielded by doing this project or by delivering this product. Customer is going to use this product, and ultimately certain benefits which are already defined in the business case, they will be yielded, right? That means there might be some benefits which could realize during the life of a project or at the end of the project, but there are many benefits or major benefits will be realized long after the project has concluded. Therefore, the responsibility of benefit realization will be shifted to the party which takes over the product of the project. They are then responsible for realizing those benefits. This benefit realization is actually planned during the business case when the business analyst created the business case. He created another document as well. And that document is called Benefit Management Plan. These two documents, as we have already studied, collectively are called the business documents. There are only two business documents, the business case and the benefit management plan. Now, that benefit management plan comes into action after we hand over our project to the customer, and then they take on the responsibility of benefit realization by themselves. And, it may take a long time, maybe a couple of years to realize those benefits. But then that becomes an operational activity. So project team and project manager are no more responsible for that. Moreover, the benefits could be of two types, the short-term benefits and the long-term benefits. Long-term benefits are classically the responsibility of the customer who will take over. But those benefits which can occur during the life of a project or which can occur immediately after the project is closed, they are called short-term benefits, or another name for that is outcome. Project manager can be responsible for the deliverable, output, and the outcome. Outcome is the short-term benefit, but they are not responsible for the long-term benefit. I hope that makes sense.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so when I have defined all that, now you understand what are the long-term benefits. And long-term benefits are those which are the responsibility of the customer or the party who is taking over the outputs and outcomes of the project. They are going to yield the long-term benefits. So benefit accrue at various stages. Some benefits might accrue during the project life cycle, and they will be called the short-term benefits or outcomes. We will deliver. As project manager, I am responsible to deliver the short-term benefits in shape of outcomes. So I can deliver two things, output and the outcome. Output is the deliverable, outcome is the immediate benefit. Then nature of the project work and intended outcomes, they are coming as a long-term benefit, and they will be dealt as long-term benefits and dealt by the customer themselves. Now, I have already talked about the transition of the project, but what about the transition and sustainment of the benefits? Well, that is very interesting to note that the long-term benefits are going to occur later, and project manager is no more there, and the project team is no more there. So long-term benefit transition and sustainment is the responsibility of the customer. But as far as the outcomes are concerned, we are supposed to demonstrate those benefits to the customer alongside the output, the deliverable we are delivering to them, right? And they should be comfortable that all the short-term benefits or outcomes have been achieved. Any improvement or modification to the delivered benefits might be, it is not the extension of the existing program, existing project, but it could be considered as a new project, and that would be the job of another project manager. In Agile, the things are slightly different. In Agile, we do have a provision of adding new requirements to the project continuously. So we can deal with this problem of modification as part of our daily life and as part of our Agile project. Any improvement the customer wants can be included in the scope of the project, and we can do it. But there must be a limit to that. We cannot have infinite iterations going on. So there is a concept in Agile which is called DevOps, which is infinite loop of between the development team, that is the project team, and the operations team. That means we are not doing the work for any customer, but we are doing the work for the operations department. Operation departments keep adding new requirements, and we keep doing that, and that is like a infinite loop going on. This is a concept which is applied in generally in the software industry. But if you think you can use it in your project, probably you can try it out. But DevOps, Agile is flexible, and therefore this infinite loop of more work and the project going on maybe forever, that can exist. But in predictive, there is no concept like that, because a predictive project has to get done. But again, I would say every Agile project is not a DevOps project. Although DevOps is also Agile, but DevOps is an advanced form of Agile where this loop never ends. Whereas in Agile, normally we put a limit to it that yes, you can give us more changes, but it may not, the contract should cover it. It may not exceed the total budget of the project or something like that. Okay, in transition and sustainment, because I have told you Agile has got more flexibility. So you can see the role of the product owner is kind of, the project team is delivering the benefit to the customer, and the product owner and project manager works with the customer in Agile to identify work required for desired improvement. So we are looking for any new requirements all the time. In predictive, we don't do that. If at all we do that, we do it through a very strict change control procedure, and we remain within the bounds of the project. Whereas Agile can go a little bit right and left, it can do a little, it's more flexible as far as the requirements are concerned. Project team provides the planned performance data, and in a predictive, customer is responsible for comparing the actual performance to the planned performance, that is through some KPIs. But in Agile, product owner is responsible. He uses the metrics chosen with team to measure the performance. Similarly, project team works with the business owner to suggest benefit realization metrics, including frequency and monitoring responsibility. In predictive, customer implements those benefit realization metrics. But interestingly, in Agile, because Agile might be a DevOps, they collaborate with the team to determine suitable metrics. So although a predictive project manager is not responsible for the metrics of the benefit realization, that is the business analyst who has to do that. But in an Agile project, we even help them do it. Then determines if the project team determines if any remaining risk might prevent benefit achievement. Product owner monitors those risks and impediments. For that matter, I would say it is that Scrum Master, our team lead, because he's a servant leader, he looks at all the impediments. Then last but not the least is project team provides technical information required to use the product or service. And the product owner and the project manager are the Scrum Master. They collaborate with the team to update technical information. So you can see there is a little bit more flexibility in Agile, and we can do things which cannot be done in predictive. As far as benefit management plan is concerned, I have already told you, this is created by the business analyst at the time the business case was being developed. It is one of the two documents in the business documents. One is the business case, other is the benefit management plan. Project manager in a predictive project has absolutely nothing to do with the development of this document. This is received by the project manager when he gets the charter, along with the business case. But anyways, this benefit management plan is a major input in authorizing the project, meaning that before the charter is issued, these business documents already existed. And based on these business documents, our sponsor has authorized the project, given the charter to the project manager. It examines the requested benefits and determines if both the tangible and intangible business value will be realized from the project in the long run. Determines the time frame for short-term and long-term benefits. Identified a benefit owner for every benefit described. Every benefit must be responsibility of someone. Some person should be associated with it to make sure that these benefits get realized. Metrics are measurement to be used, which individual or group measure the results. These are all to be done by the benefit owner. He is responsible for creating or finding the metrics and assigning the responsibilities. But in Agile, you remember I said the development of metrics and measurement, the product owner and the team lead, they take on that responsibility. But in predictive, we don't. Okay. Benefit owner works with the project manager and the team lead during the project to ensure planned benefits are managed as they are delivered. That is very interesting because project manager and the team, they are actually being responsible for the work of the project. As far as taking care of the benefit is concerned, whomsoever is assigned as a benefit owner will actually look over the shoulder of the project manager and see if those benefits will ever be realized. Then benefit owner assists in transitioning the requested benefits to the receiving organization. So during the transition, when we are handing over the project to the customer, benefit owner will see this transition and also take it through the ultimate benefit transition, which would happen, say, after 4 or 5 years. Benefit transition will happen later. Project transition is happening with us. So we, as a project team, are responsible for the transition of the product to the customer. But transition of the benefits is the responsibility of the benefit owner. And that is going to come later. Benefit owner also ensures that measurement metrics and methods are established. Reports to the management on the realized benefit, results, value of the delivered benefits. In predictive, benefit owner may be a business analyst. Now, this makes it very clear. This is not the project manager. It could be a sponsor. It could be the operations manager. whomsoever, but not the project manager. In Agile, interestingly, product owner becomes responsible for the benefits. Right? That is a difference between predictive and Agile. Then verify the benefit realization. In Agile and hybrid methods, we can verify the benefit realization through this method using the chosen metric, which we have already chosen the metrics in the measurement method. In Agile, product owner reports on the progress for each tangible benefit, because benefits are the responsibility of the product owner here. In predictive, it is not the responsibility of product owner. The project manager is not responsible for the benefits. For intangible benefits, a subjective qualitative determination may be more useful. Like, there is an intangible benefit, like, how would it look like? And you say it should look good, best, or whatever. So on a varying scale, which is not exactly a measurable scale, you could create an artificial scale to measure that metric, the intangible ones. And then reporting should include, for intangible benefits, progress towards being met, any benefits at risk are not being realized as planned, any resulting negative impact on strategic objectives, and potential ending of the project team support. As far as predictive is concerned, predictive projects, once the transition is complete, project manager is no more responsible. Who is responsible? Yes, Mark?
The customer.
Say again.
Oh, sorry, Mark, are you gonna answer? Yeah, the customer, Suhail, the person who we handed it over to, or
No,
whoever it is would do
we
it.
just said it is the benefit owner. And the benefit owner could be the business analyst, could be the sponsor, could be any operations manager, but that is the person who will be responsible for the benefits realization.
Okay.
Questions. Which three of the following are the purposes of the benefit management plan? Three of them are correct.
ABC.
AB, yeah, the first three.
First three. Very good. Very good. Often the benefit management plan is created before the project is approved. Naturally, we know that. Along with the business case document, what is the benefit management plan? Why is the benefit management plan created?
Uh, B, the second one.
B. You agree with it, Arman?
Yes, yes, I agree.
Good. B is the correct answer. Last year, your company released a new service based on a project you manage. The company wants to determine if the new service has increased customer satisfaction. Which tool measures the happiness of users based on their willingness to encourage others to use your service against those who would discourage others to use your service? What is the right answer?
B, net
B.
promoter
Promoter
score.
score.
Very right. Okay, now we enter into the last part, which is the knowledge transfer. Do you need a little break here, or should I continue? Just 10 more slides.
I think we can continue, Mark. What do you think?
Yeah, we can continue, but heads up again. I couldn't.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
Sorry, I'm in the road. Thanks.
So, knowledge management is a matter which we deal with when we are closing a project. Because whatever we have learned during this project, I'm talking from the predictive point of view, whatever we have learned, that must be recorded somewhere. Now, there are two kinds of things we have learned. Number one, there are some lessons we have learned, which we have been recording during the life of the project in a lessons learned register. These lessons can be submitted to the lesson learned repository of the organization as if future projects can benefit from that. Right? That is as far as the written notes are concerned. But there is a lot of other learning, like you gain new knowledge about things during the process of the project, and those things, like you went through some mentoring or coaching or training during the course, or maybe it added to your experience, your knowledge has been enhanced, so you learn a lot many things which could not be recorded in the lesson learned register, right? So, as you remember, earlier I have defined the knowledge could be of two types. What were those two types? What were the two types of knowledge which we learned from the project?
Types of
Lessons.
No,
Lessons
no,
like
no, no, no,
no,
no.
no.
One is
the
called
explicit
explicit
knowledge,
knowledge
explicit and
Explicit,
tacit.
yeah.
Yeah.
and tacit. Very
Sorry.
good, very good. So explicit knowledge is the one which we have physically learned through some kind of training or coaching sessions, and we can enumerate it, we can tell it to someone, we know what we are saying, we know what we have learned, it can be written down, it can be recorded. But then there is a tacit knowledge which I can't put my finger on, that yes, I think I feel like more knowledgeable, but I don't know what I have learned. That is the knowledge which I gained in the company of the people I worked with, my coaches and others. And without knowing, I have learned so many things, which somebody asked me what you have learned, I probably can't explain it. Tacit knowledge is that there is a knowledge, but you can't explain it. It can't be written down. Anyways, whatever kind of knowledge is there, all knowledge, tacit or explicit, must also be somehow recorded and handed over to the organization. So that is what knowledge management is. So there is a little difference between lesson learned and the knowledge management or knowledge base. Knowledge base is like an intelligent thing. Lesson learned is just a list of items, right? Knowledge has got a mind of its own. Lessons are just guidelines. Lessons learned, they are just guidelines. So there is a difference between knowledge and lessons learned. So conducting project retrospective. Now, as far as the agile is concerned, retrospective is a word reserved for agile. It can be used in hybrid also, because in hybrid we have elements of agile. So, when do we conduct a retrospective?
Every after iteration.
Very good, very good. So, after every iteration, we have a retrospective, and we have an opportunity to conduct this lessons learned exercise of retrospective after every 2 weeks. And if there is a 6 months long project, then probably we would be having 12 retrospectives during that. Every retrospective will teach us something, and we will be able to employ those lessons into the next iteration. Therefore, this retrospective is really very useful in agile. In projects, in predictive projects, we have not, the term of retrospective is not there. We call it lessons learned exercise. This lesson learned exercise is conducted at the end of the project or at the end of a phase. But naturally, those lessons we have learned from the phase, or the project might be useful for the next phase or the next project, but whatever we have done, we cannot undo it. Right? So these lessons learned are actually of no use to the existing phase or project. They can be good to be used later by someone. But in retrospective, the same team which is doing the retrospective uses their own lessons learned in the next iteration. So that means we can, agile is much better as far as lessons learned are concerned. Finalize your lessons learned. So classify those lessons learned into a register or into a final report where you can separately define what we have learned as far as the scope changes are concerned, what we have learned about the schedule impact. So you can put them under separate headings and define all the lessons learned in various classifications. This could be very helpful for people in the future to learn lesson out of it. So basically what we are doing is we are converting our lesson learned register into a final report which is submitted to the organization, which they are populating into their lesson learned repository. Lesson learned register is something which is created in a project. Lesson learned repository is actually those final reports coming from all the projects and being recorded at the organizational level. Consolidating the lesson learned. Naturally, as we said, the categories, these are the categories, or we could have these kind of categories. Maybe we can have scheduling category, conflict management related lessons, sellers related lessons, customer related lessons, or you could do it like that, and you can populate it into lesson learned repository. But this, whatever this format is, this should be an organizational format. Because there are many projects we are submitting their reports, they should not be submitting. For example, they are submitting their report in this format, and we are keeping the record in this format. Then probably there is no synchronicity. We have to kind of convert the final report into this shape. Got it? So transfer these into the lessons learned repository. Now the lessons learned repository has been populated and new lessons are being populated into the repository as and when any project gets completed. Final report may have this kind of a format. It could have a description of the project, activities undertaken, including deliverables and milestones. It could define very broadly, in a very short term, paragraph or something on a scope objective, a paragraph on a quality objectives, something about cost objectives. Validation information include required approvals for final product service or result. User satisfaction surveys could also be mentioned. Schedule objectives. Verify project objectives were completed on time. Report on any variances and effects of the variance. Benefit realization. State how the final product, service, or result achieved the business needs and expected benefits. If partial, give details of variance and fulfillment schedule. How long it will take to fulfill those benefits. This fulfillment schedule is not part of the project. This is after the project. Risks and issues encountered. So again, you can give a summary that we have got this level of risks and issues and we handle them in this manner. You don't have to discuss each and every risk and each and every issue. You just summarize it in this final report. Question. What is the difference between a lesson learned register and a lesson learned repository? I just explained that.
Letter C.
C. Register applies to a single project and repository applies to many projects. Very good. Which three of the following are reasons for accumulating new organizational knowledge that the project manager, stakeholders, and team members discovered during the project? Three are the correct answers.
ABC.
Okay, good. Okay, we are done with the whole course. This lesson was short. This concluded. This is the last lesson we have covered. During this course, we have covered a very comprehensive study of all the aspects of project management, whether they are being done in predictive manner, hybrid, or agile. I know, naturally, I tried my level best to explain everything to whatever level of detail is necessary. But if at all you feel that something needs to be further explained, you have to consult your notes. You have to consult the standard, and especially the examination content outline is very important. Because from the examination point of view, the questions are going to be coming from the examination content outline, not necessarily from the standard. They can ask you any question, even outside of the standard. So must consult examination content outline, which I defined earlier. Anyways, this course has covered everything. Now, first of all, clarify your concept. If you think you are not comfortable with some of the concepts, read through them and try to capture the essence of everything. Then do a lot of exam questions. Exam questions you have been provided access by PM Training School. You can log into that, and there are numerous questions banks available there. You can try out as many as you can. And when you feel that you are achieving a level of perfection, like something like you are going 80 to 85% correct, you are absolutely ready for the exam.
Okay.
Do a lot of,
So
yes?
does it mean that the exam questions in the site where we have
Mhm.
access is somehow similar to the actual questions that will
They
appear
are
during the
they are
PMP?
not they're not the actual questions, but they are very similar to the actual questions.
Okay, clear.
They will help you a lot in your exam.
Yeah. Actually, what we're doing is, so we're taking some of the exams already. Then,
Mhm.
if ever we're wrong, so we're taking a screenshot of it because there's an explanation, right, on each of the right answers. And
Right,
then we try to retake and see if we will remember and understand.
right, right. Of course, if I would say if I tried my best to explain everything here, but in case you have got certain questions, you can fix a time with me anytime, and I could give you some extra time to answer your queries. Moreover, I don't know if you have already applied for your PMP application. If you have not, today your course is complete, and now you are eligible to apply for your PMP application. Do that, and for that, PM Training School is going to provide you assistance as well if you require. You can consult with Dr. Faz Rasool and his staff, and they will
Okay.
help you fill your application, submit this application, and get you the exam date. Or they will provide you the complete help on that. Any
Okay, clear.
questions?
I think more than a
Oh,
question.
yeah.
Thank you, Suhail, for helping us and being patient
Yes.
with us.
Most
Agree.
welcome,
Yeah.
most welcome.
Thank you so much, Suhail.
Most welcome. Take care and see you sometime. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.